Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Adulting Unplugged, the podcast dedicated to demystifying the art of becoming a successful adult. I'm your host, Traci Bakenhaster, and I'm thrilled to take center stage in this introductory episode. In this episode, I'm going to share my personal journey and the driving force behind my mission to help students and families navigate the challenges that come with adulthood. So, I started this podcast because I wanted to provide resources and information and just amazing tools to parents and students to really help them with those next steps because I know how challenging it can be. Um, in fact, that's kind of, I got into what I do now, which I'll talk about here in a little bit because of my background. So I was a single parent at 21 years old, which is a very challenging state of mind to be in. And during that time, I made a lot of poor decisions. I enrolled in college. That was, something I'm like, okay, having this baby, I've gotta figure it all out now and get a job and do something. So I guess I'll go to college. And so I remember I enrolled at our local community college, knew absolutely nothing about what I wanted to do with my life. And I just like, yeah, we're just going to pick something. I think I started out in like radiography or something of that nature. I'm like, I'll be an x-ray tech. It'll be great. It'll be fine. Or maybe it was early childhood education, something of that nature. And of course, I ended up changing it probably at least, oh gosh, I don't know, four or five times. And I finally decided to go meet with a career coach and say, help me. I have no idea what I want to do. I don't know what I'm good at. I just have all these things. And it was a very, very stressful time. And they helped me navigate and kind of find my strengths and passions and help me find career paths that were in line with that. And it took me down the direction of business and marketing and everything. And along that journey, I was living with my grandma at the time when I had my baby and decided, you know what? I need to get out on my own. I can't live here, anymore. I loved my grandma. I loved being with her, but being the grandkid myself and then having the great grandkid, there wasn't always the great boundary of respect for me as a parent. So I decided the best thing to do would be to get out and go get my own apartment. And so I did that, not knowing anything about money. By this point, I really hadn't had to pay too many bills or do anything. Before I lived with her and before I had my son, I was married to a gentleman in the military. He took care of all the bills. I was kind of just like a stay-at-home wife. I was only 18 at the time, so not really quite mature or any of those things. And so just, making a lot of not the best choices in life, shall we say, and not really prepared to be an adult. And so life was hard. I remember at one point I had so much debt with between credit cards and a car loan and I had bought a home and all these things, and I had lost the government assistance I was on for being a single parent because I had gotten a new job and I made $50 a month too much money. And so lost my benefits. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, I have no more money. I have to now pay groceries and childcare and these things I didn't have to pay for before. I just bought a house. And it was not a good time at all. And I ended up having to work 3 jobs. I was still going to school full time at this point. I was at the university by now working on my bachelor's degree. And I got through it, thank goodness, but it was really, really difficult. And not to mention all the other things I was trying to do of building my career. And okay, I'm going to business. Well, I know I need to learn how to network with people. I had no idea how to network with people. I didn't know what I was doing. And I just was like figuring it out. I didn't know how to write my resume. I didn't know how to do any of these things. No, I didn't learn any of that stuff in school. I didn't learn it in college. And I sure didn't learn it in high school. And so fast forward, years later, I was working in industry. I'd become a hiring and training manager at one point. I'd worked in higher education. I've done, variety of things there. I've been a director of marketing at a chamber of commerce and just a whole variety of things that were very random at the time. You look at my background, it's very random and all over the place, but it truly prepared me to do what I do now. And it was right before COVID happened. I was in my master's program and we had to write a business plan. And I was deciding, okay, what would I want to do a business on? And I started thinking and I was like, at the time I was still working in higher education. I was working with a ton of students all around Central Ohio. I ended up talking to over 4,000 high school students in the course of like 6 months and doing presentations and, all these things. And I was like, you know what? These students are in the same position I was in. I see them changing their major. I see them not knowing anything about money, taking on student debt, just making really bad choices. And it got me mad. I got angry. I was like, you know what? This isn't right. No wonder I was in the situation I was in. No wonder those things happened to me because I wasn't given the right tools and resources either. And so I saw these students going down that same path and I got mad and I'm like, you know what? I can start a business for that. And so I started to build a business plan, started to put it all together. And then, of course, COVID happened and I had lost my job that I had. And I'm like, well, I guess this is a great time to really jump full force into this. And so I did. So I started my business. It's made a ton of shifts and changes since then. So it started out where it was just career and college coaching and some financial literacy training to now it's full adulting. We have Adulting University and we basically teach teens how to adult. We work with students ages like 15, 16 to 26 years old in this space. And we are now really starting to work a lot with parents because we see there's a big gap there where parents are like, man, I need the resources and I need the help to help my kid. And I don't know where to find them. And I'm not getting them from the schools and I'm not getting them from these places that I'm supposed to be getting them from. And so that's kind of where Adulting Unplugged came from, was to be that resource for parents. I mean, we of course have programming in my business, but I wanted to have, free resources and tools to really help parents going through that journey to prepare their students, to prepare their young adults for those next steps in life so that they aren't taking out $100,000 in student loan debt and then not being able to live on their own or pay their bills or being miserable in a job or getting fired from jobs or not being able to get a job or whatever the situation may be. And so that's kind of where all of this came from. It was a lot of it was personal experience mixed with seeing it firsthand happening to other people too. And that's kind of my story in a nutshell of how I got to where I am and why I do what I do. And, I've since dove in full force and do everything I possibly can to help these students. So I've done trainings and certifications and all kinds of stuff to really help that. But I've learned a lot of things along the way and I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And I know that's part of life is learning the hard way. But if we can at least have resources and tools to help us along the way, that would be huge. And so that's where all this comes into play. Adulting Unplugged is here to come alongside you, to be that guide for you that, hey, we've been there, we've done that. And now let's help you help your kids do it the right way and not the hard, difficult way. They're going to have plenty of other things in life that are going to be hard and difficult. Could be, relationships or, promotions or whatever that is. And let's do what we can do. So that's kind of like why everything started. That's the background. And so what can you expect from Adulting Unplugged? So Adulting Unplugged, this podcast is a resource podcast for you. It's going to be packed full of tips and tricks and resources and education. We're going to bring in guest speakers to talk about all kinds of great things, from parenting experts to career and hiring managers and trainers. I mean, we're going to cover all of it. We're bringing experts and we're going to bring in students to share their stories. We're going to bring parents in to share their stories. It is going to be the ultimate resource for raising the next generation. Right. And that is what I'm so excited about, because it is going to be a powerful tool and resource that so many families are going to be able to utilize and just hear from and be like, man, it's not just me, or, oh my gosh, I had no idea, or wow, now I know how to bring this to my child. Because we all know teenagers don't always listen to mom and dad. But if we can equip you with the right information and how to approach them, or just say, hey, you know what, I want you to go listen to this episode of Adulting Unplugged. And you go ahead and listen to this, so then you don't have to hear it from me, whatever that works for families. But we are so excited about this. And I mean, this is the ultimate resource for you. We created this for you. And I hope that you love it and enjoy it. And I subscribe, make sure you're getting all of our episodes. We have some really good stuff coming down the pipeline with some amazing speakers. It's going to be jam-packed. And it's going to be something that I promise you will get so much value from. And so make sure that you're following us, that you subscribe to the podcast, invite the other parents and friends and family members to come and listen to this too. Share it with them. We'd love to be that resource for them as well. And just be able to be here to truly help you all. So, as we wrap up this inaugural episode of Adulting Unplugged, I want to express my gratitude for you to join us on this journey. I'm very thankful that you're here. Whether you're a student seeking guidance or a parent supporting your child's transition to independence, or even an educator or a community member who cares about these teens in this next generation, Adulting Unplugged is here to empower you. Remember that the challenges and triumphs of adulthood are universal experiences, and together we're going to explore them one episode at a time.